This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. This is part 2 of the video I released yesterday, where I presented confirmed evidence of Meghan Markle and Marcus Anderson's connections to the Epstein network, and filling in more details about how and why Meghan was able to infiltrate the royal family. If you haven't watched the first part yet, I strongly recommend doing so. It will give you a clear picture of the key players in Meghan Markle's orbit. Today, we're going to pick back up where we left off and finish up talking about Meghan's friend and hotelier, Andre Balazs. And then we will go into talking about this Celine that Meghan had referenced in her 2014 TIG blog that introduced her to this Hikari Yokomama. So go ahead and get comfortable and let's dive in. So just real quick, I want to say that the views expressed in this video are my personal opinions and interpretations. Any theories discussed are based on information that's available to everyone in the public domain. I do encourage everyone to do their own research, review the sources for themselves, and come to their own independent conclusions. And with that being said, now let's begin. So back to talking about Andre Balazs. Andre Balazs owns the iconic Standard Hotel in New York City, which opened its doors in 2009. Back then, before the city succumbed to this miserably woke communist state, the scene revolved around glamour and exclusivity, especially at the hotel's legendary Boom Boom Room, sitting at the top of the hotel. It boasted the toughest door in New York City's nightlife, drawing in a glittering crowd every evening. Stunning models, high-powered finance moguls, celebrities, and ambitious social climbers, like Meghan Markle, seen here at the Boom Boom Room for an after-party during Fashion Week in 2014. The hotel also earned a notorious reputation for its exhibitionism, thanks to its floor-to-ceiling windows that invited voyeuristic thrills. But in light of recent revelations from these Epstein files, it's hard not to suspect darker activities lurking beneath all that glitter. Balazs' connections ran deep, intertwining with Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, and the self-proclaimed performance artist Marina Abramovic, known for her demonic spirit cooking events that some interpret, like myself, as satanic rituals. You may recognize some of her famous friends like Jay-Z, Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Naomi Campbell, who's also in these files, and shockingly, well, not really shockingly, Alexander Gilks, Misha Nunu's ex-husband, seen here with Marina Abramovic, and they seem pretty close. So what we have here is a network of individuals who appear to operate in elite circles, embracing ideologies that justify perversion and heinous acts, including the abuse of children, in service to what they view as a demonic higher power. They see themselves as superior. I mean, after all, Lady Pervy Hervey thinks people who are not named in the Epstein files are losers. And I'm pretty sure she's not the only one who thinks this way, where they think they are untouchable by ordinary morals. This is the same shadowy class that includes the woman we refer to as Meghan Markle, entangled in these dark pursuits of power, money, fame, and perversion. I mean, it's pretty clear Andre Balazs was a central figure in this whole Epstein world, which is why I don't think it's an accident that one of the guests at Harry and Meghan's wedding was Alessandra Balazs, the daughter of Andre Balazs. Now, why was it that Alessandra was invited, but Meghan's dear friend Andre was not? I think we all know why he wasn't invited. And I think it was because Meghan didn't want people drawing the conclusion in association to her and Epstein. It's the only reason that I can think of as to why she would invite the daughter of her so-called friend who she doesn't know. Coming from the files, as you can see here, Andre Balazs was meeting with Epstein. And another person that we all should be talking about is Peggy Siegel. This woman that you see here with Andre Balazs is referenced in some form, whether it be indirect or direct communications, almost 10,000 times with Jeffrey Epstein. Peggy Siegel was hired by Jeffrey Epstein after he got out of jail the first go-around to improve his so-called brand and getting back onto the scene. He paid her handsomely in order to get him in with the right people. So who is this Peggy Siegel? Well, Peggy is an American entertainment publicist based in New York City, and for decades she has built a career around hosting invitation-only screenings, dinners, and parties designed to shape buzz around prestige films, especially during award season. Her company is known for maintaining large contact lists of journalists, critics, celebrities, and other influential figures. That role kind of made her like a gatekeeper for access to elite cultural events, where a place on her guest lists could influence who met whom and which films received attention. Profiles in major magazines have described Siegel as a power publicist whose guest lists could affect Oscar campaigns and reputations in both Hollywood and Manhattan. When it was discovered that she worked with Epstein in 2019, many people had severed ties with working with her. Now, in these files, there is no evidence of Peggy Siegel committing any kind of illegal acts or wrongdoing. It's just that she continued to engage with him and take his money despite knowing that he had an attraction to younger women and possibly have seen some things, and just chose to look the other way. Anyone want to take a guess at who Peggy Siegel is friends with? Well, that would be Ken Sunshine from Sunshine Sachs. When things really hit the fan in early March of 2011 about Jeffrey Epstein being a pedophile, it was Peggy Siegel who recommended that Jeffrey reach out to Ken Sunshine to help him. Now, it's unclear if Ken Sunshine ended up helping Jeffrey Epstein, but there is documentation that Jeffrey Epstein did connect with him and had a conversation of some sort. Let's all not forget that Ken Sunshine agreed to help Harvey Weinstein. So anything's possible, and he also took Meghan Markle on as a client. And at this time, I do believe that Ghislaine Maxwell had been out of so-called Jeffrey's life, right? So in the later 2009, 2010, that's when he brought in this woman who I believe acted as his social calendar to help him get acclimated back into society. But she wasn't doing any of the things that Ghislaine Maxwell was doing because he had the girls to do it. Which now brings us to this photo of Karina Shuliak and Jeffrey Epstein at this event called the Tribeca Ball back in 2014. So Jeffrey Epstein bought this table for $25,000 to go to this event. And on the list, he had 8 guests that were going, including David Blaine. Apparently, David Blaine ended up not going, but for the most part, understand that Jeffrey Epstein bought this table and 8 people were there. That included Karina Shuliak and 2 blacked out names that we don't know who they are. What's really interesting is that Misha Nunu was at this event, seen here with none other than Peggy Siegel. So it is evident that Misha Nunu was definitely running in the same circles as Jeffrey Epstein, which now when we look at this photo of Meghan on this yacht with Misha Nunu, it is plausible that that is Karina Shuliak, and these girls were part of this network, which now gives more weight to Meghan being on that yacht and also being a part of this network. So now going back to Meghan's archived blog, back in 2014, Meghan mentions someone by the name of Celine. So in these files, the name Celine shows up in 185 records. But for the most part, they're talking about Celine Dion. But then what started to show up was Celine without the E, or at least that's what I thought they were implying. Celine. But then this catches my eye right in the middle. It says forward contacting Celine Dubin. When you look closer at this, you realize that they're talking about Selena Dubin. So now who is Selena Dubin? She is the daughter of former Miss Sweden Eva Dubin and billionaire financier Glenn Dubin. So now this story is about to get really messed up. You see, Eva had won Miss Sweden in 1980 and dated Jeffrey Epstein on and off from 1983 until 1990 or 91. She then began dating Glenn Dubin, who is this wealthy hedge fund manager, and they married in 1994. They had 3 children who referred to Epstein as Uncle Jeff. Selena was born in 1995. Their son Jordan was born in 1996, and their daughter Maya in 1997. So now, Virginia Giuffre claimed that Glenn and Eva were her first clients at the Breakers Hotel in Palm Beach. Giuffre describes massaging Eva and then Glenn in her memoir, stating, "Before I could change my mind and run away, I was having intercourse with this man that was so comfortable doing all of this while his pregnant wife and children slept in the room beside us. When he climaxed, we both got up and dressed, and he paid me a large tip, even though Jeffrey would be the one to actually pay me for my time spent there." Now enter in Juan Alessi. Epstein's former Palm Beach housekeeper, provided an annotated copy of Epstein's so-called quote-unquote black book containing his business and social contacts. Alessi marked down accomplices and Eva's name as marked. He also provided an additional handwritten list describing Eva as former model and mother of Naked Pic. This is most likely referring to the photo Epstein had hanging up on his wall of a young girl with her backside exposed, provided by Giuffre in her 2016 deposition. In the past, Giuffre had been very vocal about the Dubins on Twitter, calling them predators and pure evil. Then in early 2021, disturbing photos from 2004 of Epstein in his jet with a young girl asleep on his lap were released. Flight logs show Epstein, Eva, Selena, Jordan, and others taking a day trip from Palm Beach to Orlando on January 3, 2004. Giuffre then tweeted that she knew who the little girl was and how she had been threatened if she were to say the girl's name again. Then there was this incident where a young Swedish girl was brought to the Dubins' home by Maxwell and Epstein around 2005. The terrified girl told Ronaldo Rizzo, the Dubins' butler, and his wife about the trouble she was in because she refused to partake in sexual activities on Epstein's island. Eva then returned to the kitchen and announced she would be their nanny. They later dropped her off at an airport in Sweden. Rizzo and his wife quit soon after the incident, and he gave the details in a 2016 deposition seen here. After Epstein took the plea deal and served just 13 months in prison for sex crimes against minors, the Dubins reached out to his parole officer via email, asking that he be allowed to attend their Thanksgiving dinner in 2009. Microsoft founder Bill Gates met Epstein for the first time in 2011 when he visited his Manhattan mansion around 8 p.m. one night. Gates told colleagues in an email the next day, "A very attractive Swedish woman and her daughter dropped by, and I ended up staying there quite late." Gates had previously downplayed his relationship with Epstein, but in a New York Times article, they uncovered this email and multiple other meetings leading to his wife filing for divorce soon after it was published in 2019. Now, all of the 3 Dubin children have attended Harvard University, where both Glenn Dubin and Epstein have made significant donations. Selena was part of the Hasty Pudding Social Club when Epstein made a $50,000 donation. The Selena Dubin United Fund was created by Eva Dubin so Epstein could donate to Dubin Breast Center at Mount Sinai under the radar in 2013. Epstein created a $50 million trust that named Selena as a beneficiary in 2014 and reportedly removed her in 2015, but some are still speculating that she is still entitled to a lot of this money. The 2 CDs photographed during the 2019 FBI raid certainly point to Selena Dubin. A closer image of them here shows one is titled 812, Selena, AV shoot to, and the other says Selena, to AV photos. In 2012, Selena would have been around 16 or 17 years old, the age Epstein was known to take advantage of. The other creepy thing that we have going on here is that Jeffrey Epstein had all these boxes for organization, and one box was specifically labeled Selena Photos. It does appear that Jeffrey Epstein had an obsession with the Dubins, especially with Selena. Some people suspect that that's also her sitting on Jeffrey's lap. Epstein even made a Spotify playlist titled Selena in 2011 with many suggestive tracks. Eva Dubin testified in defense of Ghislaine Maxwell in federal court in December 2021 for sex crimes, saying she had memory issues but denied any kind of involvement. While Harvard has received backlash for its ties to Epstein and Dubin, Dubin retired as a billionaire and remains chairman of the Robin Hood Foundation and a MoMA trustee. It is confirmed that the Dubins did frequent visiting Epstein, whether it be in Palm Beach, whether it be vacationing on Epstein Island, or visiting him in New York. The chances of, if, let's say, Meghan was in this network to meet Selena was very high. In 2018, Epstein gives a membership to the Soho House for Selena and tells her that it's on the black card and everything is paid for, meaning anything that she wants at the Soho House. So memberships, whether to be stay there, to order food, whatever else is going on at the Soho House, it's on the house per Jeffrey Epstein, on the black card, the Amex Centurion black card. It seems like Jeffrey Epstein had been spoiling Selena for years. Here he is talking to Fergie, telling her that Selena is going to London and seeing if Eugenie and Beatrice were in town. You know, something tells me that Eugenie and Beatrice know who Selena is. Like, this is just weird. In 2011, Selena would have been around 15, 16. Here's Jeffrey Epstein writing, "What happened to ice cream?" And she writes back, "We didn't end up going. You can come for breakfast if you want, or we could go somewhere for breakfast." It's like weird. And the creepiest email of all is this one between Epstein and Jean-Luc Brunel, you know, the other pedophile who unalived himself because he was too chicken shit to go to jail for his crimes. Dated 7/30/2012, he writes, "Glad to see you're doing well. Can we get Selena a fashion shoot?" So my guess, those CDs that are labeled 8/12, meaning August 12th, was right after this conversation took place. And the label it was given, AV, most likely stands for adult video. What's really disturbing about this, as we learn more, it does appear that Selena was knowingly groomed and taken advantage of by her parents and Epstein for years, almost as if it was something normal. Like, this is so messed up. Literally, almost a month before Jeffrey Epstein went to jail the first time around for having inappropriate relations with a minor, here is Eva Dubin sending a photo of apparently Selena with Jeffrey at the father-daughter dance. Like, you can't make this up. And then here is Eva Dubin in 2010. That would make Selena around 13, 14 years old, telling Epstein to come and visit next week. Selena will have 5 friends over. What? Like, why? Now, at this point, Jeffrey served his time. What are you doing inviting a sex offender over to your house because Selena has her friends coming over? Despite being one of Manhattan's most wealthy elite couples, you can see that the Dubins fought to keep Epstein in their social circle and even closer to their children, which is so messed up. What's really icky about this is that this guy, Glenn Dubin, kept his wife's ex-boyfriend around and allowed him to be named godfather to his firstborn child. Like, that's not normal. At the time, Epstein was reportedly telling associates that he wanted to marry Selena, in part so she could inherit his vast fortune, including the notorious Little St. James Island. What stands out to me probably the most here with this woman is that she dated this guy who wasn't anything really special. He was over at Bear Stearns working in finance, not making the millions that he was making when he went over to work for Les Wexner. And she was former Miss Sweden who stayed with this guy for almost 11 years. And like the most bizarre thing is right after they break up, he introduces her to Glenn Dubin and then she marries him. What I think's going on here in some way, some form, in how this so-called sick network works, I don't think she became Miss Sweden because of her looks. I don't think she's all that pretty. I think this has something to do with this aristocratic secret society where these very wealthy elites groom these children and use them for whatever purpose that they see fit. Some for ritual abuse, some for sexual blackmail, some for just perversion. Annika Lucas, you may have seen her from Sean Atwood or Andrew Gold, but she talks about the European aristocrats who participate in this sick ritual with these children. She talked about how they psychologically conditioned her and tortured her in a way to get her to submit in accepting. And when these terrible abuses were happening, for her to be able to disassociate. And I think in this case with the Dubins, I think this could have been a similar situation where Eva, at the time her last name was Anderson, was a part of this type of cultish behavior. Whoever her parents may be, there's literally no information about her side of the family. We don't know if she had brothers or sisters or what her parents did for occupation, or even if she had other children prior to her meeting Glenn Dubin. We know that she was with Epstein, but that doesn't really tell us anything. As is, he was building a place called Zorro Ranch where he was setting up some type of a laboratory and rumored to be used as a facility to make undocumented babies in the basement, to be used in the most horrific ways. There's evidence that that is going on right now in Ukraine. Yeah, I definitely think that something's not right here with this Eva and that relationship she had with Jeffrey Epstein. It was not normal. Which leads me to think if she is one of those that is a part of this whole elite network, as an aristocrat, maybe, we don't know who her parents were, in Sweden, then could she have had a child? And the reason why I bring this up is because of something that I noticed. She has very good genetics that she's passed on to her offspring. It's probably why Jeffrey Epstein was so obsessed with Selena. She's a very pretty girl. Her son is even really handsome. You know who else is really handsome? Marcus Anderson. And the reason why I bring him up is, don't people find it strange that there is literally no digital footprint of this guy, not even in Canada, to state that, yes, he was born on XYZ date and he lived here, or his family and friends? Like, I think a while ago we saw some blurry photos of what we think is Marcus in a yearbook, but do we actually really know? And given the weirdness of Marcus's role in this whole entire saga with Harry and Meghan, and his involvement with Soho House and connections to Epstein, as we all have seen in the prior video, would it be too far-fetched to think that maybe there's a possibility Marcus is related to Eva Anderson Dubin? Go figure that the origins of his name is Swedish. Not very Canadian, I think. Now, obviously, this is conspiracy territory. I don't necessarily believe that they're in any way related, but I just find it kind of coincidental that his name just so happens to be Swedish. And yeah, is it possible that he spells his last name Anderson with one S just to throw everybody off? This is what they do to fool the masses. Look at how they lied about everything pertaining to the woman that we're calling Meghan Markle. This would not be too far of a stretch to think that maybe somehow there is a connection here. I think this is a better conspiracy than the conspiracy that Andrew is Marcus's dad. I mean, just take a look at Andrew and look at Marcus. Do you see any resemblance between the two? In fact, just take a look at the offspring that he produced. When we talk about genetics, those are not the genetics that we're seeing here with Marcus, if you know what I mean. I would be more inclined to believe that the genetics belonging to this Swedish former Miss Sweden belongs to Marcus more than Andrew at this point. Obviously, we would need more proof, but it's definitely something to keep in the back of your head. You know, when we look at Meghan's involvement here and how she got here and the network of people and the crazy things that they do, when we go back and we look at how everybody fits together in this so-called art world, the Dubins are very much a part of it. And Meghan's friend Celine could actually be in reference to someone tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe it is Selena. Hopefully one day we'll find out. Are we getting close? I think so. I think we're getting closer to figuring out who this agent of chaos is that has unleashed so much division and damage on this earth. I think we'll get to the bottom of it. Slowly but surely, we may not get the full truth, but I do think that we're almost there. Just my opinion. But what do you guys think? What do you think of this theory now of Marcus possibly being tied to the Dubins? Let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Such a fraud.